Welcome back to a new video. So this video has a lot of training sessions, hence the long nature of it. Just heard my microwave preheat. I'm actually trying to cook. I don't even know what I'm trying to cook. So I put a bunch of beef in like I don't even know what, it's like kind of a thing that you'd make meatloaf in, or like a casserole because it's the glass dish. But I put that, a bunch of rice, navy beans, enchilada sauce, which is just because it was just something that my roommates had left, so I just threw that in there, and just various like salt, pepper, and this other seasoning that I have as well that is a bit spicy, which I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it will taste fine, but it's just kind of like monster mash, and it will be all my lunches and maybe some dinners for this week. But trying that a bit different, so I don't have to actively cook the beef on like fry it up on the stove. So getting that all prepared and then letting it bake might make my life a little bit easier when I'm kind of doing that meal prepping, because I've been good about that for the weeks at school. So I have all my lunches prepared. I'm not just eating, just a little tiny bit, eating normal meals, or at least an additional normal meal. But so I just heard the oven did that, so that kind of sidetracked me. But this week of training went really well. The squats were the 4x8s. So they jumped all the way up to 175 for the 4 sets of 8, which went surprisingly well. And then I was able to do, you might have seen the 200 for 7 at the end of the 8 reps or whatever, this little week or whatever. And I was hoping to do 8, but the 7th one was just so difficult that I actually did not think I was going to be able to do an 8th one, no matter what kind of form I had. But my form broke down a lot and it was really slow. And honestly, once I did the 6th one, I was actually thinking I was going to miss the 7th one. But that's certainly a lot more than I've ever done with 200. I feel like the most reps I've ever done is 3 prior. I might have done 5 at some point before, but certainly never anything more than 5. So, and certainly nothing recently with that. So certainly really happy that that's continuing to move up in a positive direction. After that 200 by 7, wasn't really sore. My calves were though. So like my back and legs weren't, but my left calf in particular, but both my calves are really sore from that, which is really odd because last time when I did the 185 for 10, my whole body, like my back was a little bit sore, but like I was just generally tired from it. I still had that general fatigue from doing, such a difficult set, but my left calf was super tight, and really both calves were sore, but my left one in particular. So it was just kind of bizarre. But front squats continue to go well for the most part until the very end of the week, and I'll kind of talk more about that as I get on, or maybe I'll just get distracted and talking about it there or at some point earlier. But the reps and the squats continue to go well. I was able to linearly progress the weightlifting movements, where it ended with doing 115 for a couple singles. I was trying 160 a couple times in clean jerk this week, so really like the strength in the weightlifting movements is really good, and I'm not doing essentially like any variations with them, which is it's interesting that they continue to go well. I guess I'm just getting a lot of good practice with them, and I'm not pushing too crazily heavy with them, so I don't really necessarily want to change that. But you'll kind of see at the end of the week that I'm kind of resetted, or did a reset with the weightlifting movements. Since with the squats they've been going really well, but I've been building maximum set, or like a rep set, and then I drop all the way back down and then reset it there. So it's kind of like waves in that sense, but a week-long wave of squats. Then once I wave back down to a light weight, then the reps go down and the sets go up to maintain that kind of 30 rep range for the back squat days. So it's a good progression for the back squats apparently for me. And the weightlifting movements seem to be responding pretty well, even though the volume of the squats have been pretty high. So that I'm pleasantly surprised about as well. Just really, training continues to go well. At the end of this week though, you'll see, probably won't actually notice any difference, but way at the end of the video when I was doing a 150 front squat for a double, I strained probably my lat. It's like a left side of my back, kind of like back of my ribs, or like the bottom back of the ribs. A little bit sore. I was still able to train the next day without aggravating it or feeling any sort of like big discomfort. So I definitely think it's just musculature or a muscle strain in general. And the day after that, so I strained it on Friday, and Saturday I trained normally and actually hit all of the numbers I was planning on hitting, which is really nice, as well as the back squat reps, and actually felt the best when I was doing back squats, which is really good, because since that's the main focus of my training right now is to kind of build up the squat. But 2 days after it, it's definitely feeling a lot better, and it's still kind of like spasms a little bit or like cramps a little bit sometimes. So it's something I just definitely have to be cautious about, but it's definitely getting better. And I think after a couple days, I don't think it will really impact training. It's just something I have to pay attention to, because obviously you don't want to re-aggravate something like that. But doing a lot of stretching with it, just taking some ibuprofen to make sure that, it recovers as quick as possible. But nothing else is bothering me as far as, that. Like I'm able to lift normally, so I don't plan on adjusting anything, just other than, not doing a heavy deadlift or something like that, doing a good morning or something that's like, directly going to work that area in a way that I don't really need to right now. As the weightlifting stuff moved up this week, so this was earlier, I missed this first 115, then I came back and made it. You can see here, it was super close, it just kept drifting back, and, if it's a lifetime PR, then maybe I'm able to, wiggle it forward and fight it a little bit harder. But on that second one, I was really happy with catching the bounce like that. It was a strange feeling because I caught it so well. A little bit, lower on the left side, but the lockout was solid and all of that. But clean jerks continue to go well too. I'm really surprised the weightlifting stuff's going really well, and I'm assuming that it's a lot because of the extra work I've been doing on really both my shoulders. If I'm going to stretch one, obviously I'm going to stretch the other, and just trying to do a lot of mobility work at night. So I think that's something that has just been helping training in general, just being consistent with that. Since I'm doing extra mobility, or at least more mobility for my upper body, I'm still doing mobility for my lower body, since it's, if I'm going to do for my arms, I might as well do some for my legs as well. And it's been kind of a nice little routine to set up before I go to bed. So I basically, just get ready like whenever I'm going to go to bed, and just turn on a candle so it's not really that light in my room. It's not really to set the mood for stretching, but just so it's essentially a night light so I can still see a little bit and just do whatever stretching I feel like. I have like a pipe or whatever, roll on that. A massage gun, use that a little bit. It's just really by feel, so there's not necessarily a structure to it. There's, the main shoulder stretches that I make sure that I do, but I just kind of do everything else like as much, or, kind of vary it a little bit day to day, and really, trying to make sure that I do that. Because at the end of the day, if you stretch for, 10, 15 minutes, and that's, 10, 15 minutes less of sleep that you're getting, it's like, yeah, and like in theory it adds up, but the benefits that you get from doing the mobility work and the relaxation, at least for me, because I just enjoy the almost like yoga type mindset that you get from it. Like I feel like that improves my sleep to an extent to where, that 10 to 15 minutes that I would get just laying there without doing that, I would get just slightly less quality of sleep. It's not like a crazy difference or anything like that, but they kind of like calming down that relaxation before you go to bed. Definitely think it's something that is benefiting me a little bit. Not that my sleep has been, particularly different this week or crazy good or anything like that, but I just enjoy that because it's something that I've done in the past as well, and it's just something I think most people can relate, that when you get tired and fatigued and you just want to go to bed, you're just like, I just don't really want to stretch. I just want to flop on the bed and just go to sleep as quick as possible. And it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world to do, of course, because sleep is, good for recovery and just feeling, living in general. But I think doing some of that mobility, it kind of eases my mind that I'm like, all right, I'm doing as much as I can to recover. I'm trying to get my body to feel better for the next day, and, just continuing to try to be a little bit more flexible. And it's not as if I'm immobile or anything like that, but just trying to make sure all the various joints and motions that I need to go through are as symmetrical and consistent as possible through the different movements. I honestly thought on this day, so this is the 175 for 4x8, I really thought I'd struggle more on this day, but I was really I don't really know how to describe the 4x8s. So they were easier than I thought they were going to be, but every rep was pretty difficult. And really after probably the first 3 or 4 of each set, I had to really kind of take a second to really gather myself before doing it. So I wasn't able to do like a continuous set of 8 like I was with even like the sets of 10. I did have to kind of like take breaks, I suppose. But I mean, you're seeing it's not like I'm taking a 5-6 second break. It's just kind of like standing up there and catching myself for a second and then going. But the first couple, just trying to bounce it out. And that's something that I think is kind of hard to really, I would say probably, I don't teach other people to squat, but I think it'd be really hard to teach other people to squat when you're doing reps. The kind of like rhythm of repetitions. You notice like the first couple, I'm just going boom, 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 boom. And it's not necessarily because the weight's light, but it's because I know the position that I'm trying to get to at the bottom of the squat. And so I'm able to maintain that and just go straight up and down and kind of have that rhythm on those first couple. And it's good for muscle tension, I would think, and also just to not necessarily make it easier, but just to be in that consistent position. Almost like you're doing a leg press. Not that you're trying to mimic a leg press with that, but in the sense that you're on a track and that track is not deviating forward or back on those first couple reps. And it's difficult to do, really high reps for that, and even, high weight of any amount with, continuous reps like that. But I definitely think that they are good to do, and they certainly make some sets more difficult, but it's like a good difficult. Like you just feel the weight more, I guess, or feel the muscle strain, the pump, and all of that good stuff more. So it's a interesting thing, and it's something that's like I wouldn't necessarily, if I was teaching someone to squat, I wouldn't tell them to necessarily do that. But I think that's something that once you do enough of them, it's kind of like the same thing with like touch and go deadlifts. Like you wouldn't necessarily teach someone to do touch and go deadlifts, but if you're really good at them, like you might do them a little bit more. This is some snatch grip pressing. So up here with 60 kilos, and honestly, they were difficult, but wasn't like difficult as far as the mobility or anything, which is interesting. Really trying to press the weight back, and I was thinking that my shirt was pulling up and showing my belly a little bit, and it's nice to see the video to kind of confirm that. I don't know why this shirt, you see there, it's not short or anything, but I don't know if it's just the way, I think I just kind of bump it up with the bar, and then it's folded up a little bit. Because I was feeling it, I was like, I think the shirt is just bellowing out a little bit, but it's a double XL, and like I'm obviously not a small person in that regard, but it's weird how double XL shirts are extremely inconsistent with the length of it. So the upper body, the chest, and then the back and all of that fit great with them, but some of them are shorter like this one, and others are like dresses, like the you'll see at the end of the video the white long sleeve tier shirt that I have, super long, like I'm wearing a dress, but it fits well as far as the upper body goes. But I know if I went to a XL, it would just be super tight, and it's that jump from an XL to a double XL. It's so weird because sometimes the upper body is absolutely perfect. Well, actually, most of the time it is, but the length of it is sometimes absolutely crazy. It's like they expect you to be like a 6'4" person when you wear a double XL shirt, which I suppose as far as like a general population is probably mostly true, but it does make some shirts look kind of funny when I'm wearing them because they look super long. And that's often like, if you see me tuck in a shirt, it's kind of for that thing, either it's too short or too long. It's kind of hard to find a shirt that's the proper length in a way, but I don't know. I think I'm overthinking it too much, because when you're lifting, you kind of just knock the bars around. Did the Browns just throw an interception? That's actually hilarious. Browns are about to lose every game this year. You know what? They're at least a team I can root for, but they're currently playing the Chargers right now. That's 20-3, and it looks like famous Jameis threw a famous pick. Oh wow, yeah, it was tipped. Unfortunate for them, but what are you gonna do? Browns are bad this year. Browns have been bad on most years of my life. We had a couple good years, but those are probably far behind us, and you hate to see it, but you also glad to have Watson not on the team anymore, or at least, I guess he's technically on the team, not playing for the team anymore. There's some pulls here at 180. Pretty easy pulls, just triples, just a 3x3. That's something I might adjust this week to allow my back to recover a little bit faster, to maybe just avoid pulls or a little bit, or just do like one set of them, since I won't be able to necessarily handle doing a lot of them, just to kind of allow my back to get as recovered as possible, since pulls are good to do, and good for technique and obviously the positional strength. But if it's going to aggravate my back, then obviously I don't really need to do them. I can get away with not doing them for a couple days, as long as I can back squat. That's kind of the overarching theme and focus of my training, is like, as long as I can do the back squats, everything else can kind of ebb and flow as I need it. But I would want to keep those progressions up with the back squats, which, speaking of the back squats, as I move forward with the now sets of 6, so you see them at the very end of the video where I started at 140, did a 5x6, which was surprisingly really easy, even with my back being sore. But the goal is to do 140, potentially 165 or 170 for 5 sets of 6 the next time I do it. and then go to 190 for a 5x6 seems quite heavy. I don't know how realistic that will be, but I'm trying to be just taking, I mean, big jumps, so like 20 kilos or 30 kilos is big jumps, but jumps that if I was just writing it down for someone else, it could be realistic in the sense that like it's possible to do. It would be difficult, it would be, you know, heavy, but it's not as if I'm going from 140 to 200 to try to do, you know, a 5x6. I'm taking jumps up, even if they are aggressive jumps. I don't want to take too conservative jumps because squats continue to go well and any jump I've taken has gone well, so I haven't really hit that wall. The first, like, I guess quote unquote failure is doing 200 for 7 instead of 8. I mean, that was already like I was saying before, you know, doing it for more than 3 frankly was probably a PR, and I know I never have done it for more than 5. So it's like one of those things. It's like even hitting 5, if I was completely prepared on that set to just do 1 if it felt heavy, but it's like just the fact that I'm doing the volume building up to that and have the confidence to even try to do it for repetitions is already a good sign. And you know, looking at that and the other reps that I'm doing, it's like they're moving really well. So it's hard to really be, you know, down on myself. I'm like, you know, I was 1 rep off or whatever like that, but it's the idea that the progression can keep happening and keep pushing up the squat. And, you know, maybe at the end of the day, or at the end of this like block of squatting, I'll be able to maybe get close to like 230 to do like a double or something like that, which would be really cool. But it's hard to like say that at this point, because obviously, you know, things can go up or down as far as, you know, how I'm feeling or how I'm moving. I could get sick and all these different things, but that's kind of like the trajectory that I'm hoping to get at. So, you know, maybe after the 5x6 week, being able to do a set of 6 with 210 or 215, and then the next week doing 8x4s, and then trying to maybe get up to like maybe 220 or 225 for a set of 4, which seems a lot, even, you know, just talking about it now. But I'm trying to just push them up in a logical way and not really think about the weight. And that's one of the big benefits of pushing kilos or thinking in kilos is if I'm thinking about all of these different weights in pounds, it can get overwhelming. And with kilos, at least for me, I can disassociate from the weight that I'm doing a lot better, which is really helpful when you are taking bigger jumps or you're working with weights that you may be PR, like the 200 for that rep set of 7. I was saying for 440 in pounds, like I know I can do it for 1, but like thinking reps, it's gonna feel mentally heavier. And I think that's honestly one thing, like since I've been at this gym, that's helped my deadlift. That isn't obviously like normal training. Is just thinking, all right, I'm just doing a 290 deadlift and maybe do it for 2. I'm not thinking that it's 640. I know it is, and I know it's gonna feel heavy, but I'm just thinking, all right, this is the kilogram weight. I know I went to this weight, I can jump up to here, even though it's like I went from a 220 to 270 deadlift, and, you know, taking a 50 kilo jump. It's kind of a lot, obviously, but when you're thinking in kilos, it doesn't seem like a lot, which is certainly, I think, a good thing to do, not necessarily for all your lifting, but for, you know, just the mental aspects. It's just certainly an advantage of being a Western person and growing up thinking in pounds, is that kilos, I can convert in kilos and understand them, but mentally they don't sound like, it's not, I guess it's like a foreign language in the sense that I don't think in kilos naturally. I can do all the conversions and like I write all my training in kilos and stuff like that. And so like, I guess in that sense I'm fluent in it, but when I'm thinking of kilos, it just doesn't feel as heavy. It feels more mathematical and like, this is the weight I do. Of course, you know, it's like, of course I did, you know, 190 the week before and I can do 210. It's like, it's only a 20, the number 20 going up. It's not, you know, a 44 pound jump. It's just 20 kilos. So it's, you know, it's a weird thing, but I think it's something that, you know, people who lift in pounds for the most part get to experience as a luxury. Looks like the Bills are about to score a touchdown. Good times for them. On this day, I was trying to do reps with this 90 overhead press. I did the first one. You see, it was difficult. Tried to do the second, just didn't have it there. Did the snatch grip press with 70, and it was kind of like I knew I was gonna reset after this training, and so I wasn't going to you know, necessarily push that weight up anymore. I actually made the decision, and this actually just happened to work out for the session where I trained my back to where instead of doing snatch grip press and overhead press, to do snatch grip push press and snatch grip, or I mean just regular push press. And the reason for that is that I'm able to, use that 70 or 60. I'm able to use a heavier weight, which will allow me to continue to kind of progress on days like this. But obviously, a push press is significantly easier than an overhead press with a similar weight. So it allows the sessions to still be easy, but allow me to continue to push the weight up a little more. So as a result, I'm not doing the muscles. I'm just doing a power snatch or a power clean. I'll get a little bit more technical practice, but it's mostly just so I can, do a little bit more weight and start practicing with push presses a little bit more, because those are going to have better carryover to the jerk than overhead presses. Of course, overhead presses are going to have some, but if I had to choose overhead press or a push press as like the main accessory, I think I would definitely choose that, because you get the benefit of the press, but you also get the benefit of practicing the dip drive of the push press. So this is the session there, and it's kind of hard to see with the shirt here, but you'll definitely be able to notice on the front squats how long the actual shirt is. Just kind of hilarious. But it's starting to get a little bit cold, and it's still not cold enough to where I won't be able to train at the house, not for a while. So I'm not too worried about that in any regard. But sessions like this that are light and easy, then I'm not worried about it being even super cold, especially because I can use straps for the weightlifting stuff, so it'll protect my hands a little bit more. So that's one thing. Once it gets really cold, it is difficult to just hold the bar, because it is, one, it's cold, but also when it's cold, I feel like it just tears up your hands even more. So it's certainly not a good, fun feeling to have if you're trying to do, heavy lifts without straps when it's super cold. But the power snatches were all really easy. I was happy how they were feeling. The push presses, of course, were pretty easy as well. Not necessarily trying to control it all the way down, as you can see, but trying to just make sure that it's landing on the correct spot, and just trying to make sure that I'm just getting used to the movement, because I haven't done snatch push press in a little bit, and it's a movement that's not really that difficult to do, but just trying to practice the movement, make sure that it's all, going good with that. I most likely will just keep this exercise the same, or the weight the same on this kind of day as I was doing for the snatch grip presses on the first couple days. But if it's getting like absurdly easy, then I might just, go up to 70 or something just to do it. But just doing sets of 5, so 3 sets of 5, I guess, if you don't count the power snatch, so 1 plus 5 or whatever. But pretty easy with those. Oh, was that the third one? Yep, that was the last one. Then here's just push presses. Push presses, I always find, even if I don't push them up as far as like a heavy weight, they just help my jerk, which, with a lot of those 160s, obviously I'm missing the jerk, so I don't know if it will necessarily help me make that weight or not, but it's certainly not going to hurt, and it gives me that additional time to practice that timing of the jerk without obviously having to do a jerk. So push presses are really good for that, and I always find it really good. If my push presses are generally strong, then I always feel like my clean and jerks are usually correlate pretty well to that. It's interesting how some lifts really correlate well with that and others don't, but it's kind of important to do lots of different lifts, and then you can kind of find those different things. But even if push presses, they correlate really well, they feel really good for the jerk and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't mean I don't do overhead press or other movements, but it's just one of those things that's like, all right, it's a tool in the bag that if I'm push pressing well, then I can correlate that to potentially doing better with jerk. And if I'm trying to like really lock in for a competition and I really want to start pushing up the numbers, then I want to pick those lifts that I find have a good correlation. It's not going to be a max deadlift. It's going to be stuff like a push press that are going to help the jerk, which for me, it's like that's going to be the limiting factor for clean jerks for the most part. And you can see how long the shirt is now. It looks kind of hilarious. That's why I like to tuck in shirts sometimes, just because you see how long absurdly it looks. But this second rep here is the one where I strained my back. Doesn't look much different than the first one. It's just right there at the top. Then I could just feel it, and it was just my back just unlocked a little bit. Still decided to do a couple pulls. I just did a single here at 120, then 150, and this is right after, so certainly wasn't comfortable there, and definitely was feeling it. But came back the next day. I had done a lot of stretching, taken some ibuprofen, waited a while to train, and was really just trying to feel it out. I was pleasantly surprised I was able to train completely normally. I mean, hit all of the numbers plus a little bit more than I was thinking was going to be possible. And the technique felt really good. I think that's one thing that when you do have like a back injury or something, or any sort of like, I guess any injury in general, you're trying to lift as precisely as possible. So everything is in the correct position. You're not, leaning forward too much if your back's sore, catching it forward if your shoulder is sore. Like, you're trying to put it as perfect as possible. And I think it made me actually lift better on this day. But here's 90. I did 3 singles there, and then went up to 100 for 2 singles. So really happy with how all these weights. I was really surprised with how my upper body was reforming as far as getting it back in that proper position, how strong I was able to catch it. That one was a little bit of a crash on it, but it's like still pretty decent, especially with, you know, being nervous about the back. And then the second one was good. And then we did some clean jerks. I went up to 125 for 2 singles. Really just wanted to, the plan was kind of just to do 2 singles there, then to potentially do 140. And I was like, I really thought after I did snatches, I was like, my back's probably going to start tightening up. It's not going to be comfortable for, you know, whether it's the clean or the jerk, just because of that, you know, the extension that your back is in with those lifts. And it being, you know, the front squat being the lift that, you know, strained my back or whatever. So pleasantly surprised that it felt good. And I think that's one of the, it's kind of similar to snatch. Like I was trying to make sure I caught it really perfect. So I think that helped a little bit. My footwork on this jerk here wasn't very good. Doesn't look that bad on the video, but I was kind of just stepping sideways a little bit. And so I took the sweatshirt off and did the weight again, trying to do it better, which was already kind of planned just to do it twice. The second jerk was a lot better. Felt pretty snappy, felt pretty fast. Then here, went up to 140. Clean, was a little nervous about, but didn't feel difficult, which is nice. And then the jerk, not the best, but not too bad. We got that there. And then what did we do after this? Oh, this was the back squats. So this was the 5x6. To keep that 30 reps, I was undecided if I would be able to even back squat. I didn't know if my back was going to be irritated from doing this, which it didn't at all. If anything, it's where it felt the best during the session. But I was able to do all 5 sets of 6, and I wasn't sure if I was going to drop the set by 1 to do 24 total reps, since the weight will get progressively heavier as well, of course, on these days. But if I can maintain doing 30 total reps, even if I'm decreasing the amount of reps and increasing the amount of sets for each of the sessions, I think that is what I would like to do, and just to maintain that consistency there. But potentially towards the end of this big squatting block, if I'm, you know, doing doubles and stuff, like I just might not be able to do, I don't know, I mean, I guess it would be triples, but like to do 10 triples, it might be too much if the weight gets super heavy. So I might make adjustments in that regard, but I'm still a little bit away from that. I have this week of doing 5x6s, and then the next week of doing, you know, 8 sets of 4. And so I might, you know, make adjustments with that. But it's one of those things that's like, I know as the intensity goes up, it's going to become more difficult to do lots of sets, even if the reps are low. So I just have to be aware of that, and I'm not going to necessarily like be upset if like I can only do 6 sets or whatever, instead of doing, you know, 8 or 7 or whatever. So just want to be smart about that. But yeah, those 140s were super easy, and recovered from them pretty quickly between sets. I wasn't trying to do them super fast, so I was trying to be extra cautious with them. But I guess I was just trying to stay super upright. But it's one of the, I guess, risks of staying super upright is that I'll lose my balance a little bit further back. So I was trying to squat as normally as I could, but really just trying to make sure that I kept that upright position, which for back squats is usually pretty easy for me. So I don't normally struggle with that until it's, you know, super maximal. And you see there, even on the last set, I was able to do a little pause, and it was pretty easy. So it makes me confident that when I do the session again, I'll be able to get up to 170, assuming the back continues to recover well. But really, yeah, I think that's going to be it for this one, because, you know, that's 28 minutes of talking. So if you made it this far to any point of the video, I appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great week or a great day or whatever point you're watching this. Anywho, have a great one. Take care. Peace. That alarm there was for my food, but now it's really over. All right, peace.